All right, Buff Nation, what is going on? We're back here for another episode of the weekly Buff Blitz. Previewing Kansas State today, which should be a lot of fun. I've talked about this as a statement game, Russ. I'm sure you feel the same. But how are you feeling today, man? How's your week been going?
Good, yeah. It's been rough 2 weeks without Buffs football. That bye week always hits so hard. So excited to finally get them back on the field. Excited to see what they do with the bye week. I really love the ability for the team to get 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and so we get to really see what this team is made of and whether or not the UCF game was the norm, the standard that we need to be expecting, or if it was a flash in the pan, potential type game that we can't consistently hit. So very excited to see this game this weekend.
No doubt, man. Sorry, people in the comments are already getting after me. Chico, this is a side note. Chico was not fair to me, man. He said, I just got to answer this. He said, if you were going to pick who are you going to pick in the draft, Tet McMillan or Travis Hunter? And I'm like, well, I'm going with Travis Hunter, man, because you also get a cornerback with one pick. He said, nah, man, just wide receiver. And I said, wow. If you're gonna put me in that corner, man, give me the 6'5" guy. But yeah, I told everybody to unsubscribe if you didn't like that one, man. Chico was not fair to me with that
No,
question, man.
that's rough because, like you said, I have been saying this all along. Like, that is why from the get-go last spring I was saying Travis is the number one pick. When you can get a two-way player in a salary cap sport in two of the most premier positions, like outside of quarterback, obviously, like that is a no-brainer. And with what he's been able to do, it shows. I'm sorry, I think he can play both ways. And so, I'm assuming it has to do with the fact that the Broncos probably should be taking a receiver in the upcoming draft. And I mean, we won't be all the way at the top of the draft anymore because we keep winning games.
No.
But yeah, I mean, Travis Hunter was my guy the whole way.
Yeah, man. I think based on this game coming up to Kansas State, and then next week we got Arizona. I think it's going to be a statement for Travis Hunter, no doubt. And if you're going up against Tet McMillan, you shut him down. That only boosts the Heisman stock, right?
He wins the Heisman if he shuts McMillan down. That's his Heisman. Like that is it. Because all I keep hearing from stupid football fans is, well, he doesn't do it against elite receivers. And it's like, I don't care if he hasn't done it against elite receivers. He's playing both ways. He's doing 130 snaps and still shutting people down. That shouldn't happen. Any receiver should be able to beat him.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about where he's at in the Heisman
100%,
race.
yes.
And yeah, man, like UCF was a great. I'm still riding the high, man, off of that UCF game again. Like this was the complete game we played. We finally played all four quarters. We didn't get off to a hot start, but again, seeing us overcome that on the road and just man, I'm so pleased. I'm so impressed. I think that this team is locked in, and my expectation right now, Russ, is 3 weeks. Going now, we're on a 3-game winning streak. I'm expecting us to continue to get better, and I think that this Kansas State offense definitely provides us with some unique challenges that we haven't exactly seen yet. But UCF, I think, was good preparation for that. Not the same exact offense, but they're an offense that's going to be predicated on the run game. I know that last week, Russ, we talked a lot about UCF, but I don't know, man. I'm like chomping at the bit to still talk more about this matchup. How are you feeling about it coming in?
Well, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling better. You and I both in the off season last, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I think the UCF game was one that we penciled in as probably one of the tougher games on the entire schedule. So the fact that we could pull off the win in the way that we did and be so consistent, and I agree with what you said. Like, we definitely still have room for improvement. I think what was great and why the game ended up the way it did against UCF was because the team was consistent on every piece of the ball. They did exactly what they needed to do. I wouldn't have called really any side of the ball complete domination. Offense definitely left some points on the board. Defense, again, the bend not break, the big play that they gave up for the touchdown. Like, we haven't had a week where we don't do that at least once.
Right.
And so I would like to see that. But there's room for improvement. And one of these days, we are going to get an absolutely dominant performance from either the defense or the offense. Now, if the other side of the ball can at least complement it with decent play, we're going to see a truly, truly, I guess, wake-up call to NCAA fans and football people alike of what this team could actually do. So 100%, I'm excited for this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I want to see Colorado come out here and stack, in a row, another complete game. And I think you're getting to something really crucial, Russ, because not only now, like we're talking about, we want to see this team play full 4 quarters. Now it's like, hey, now that we've seen our team be able to do that, now, how many more games is it going to take, for us to have that perfect game? That complete dominance where there's no plays that are kind of going out of whack there, kind of giving the team the other chance. But I'm probably getting a little too far ahead of ourselves, but it's great to see them take a step. Again, I was so pleased with how disciplined the defense was dealing with that run game. And I think that Kansas State, I think they're stronger on the lines than UCF. And so this is going to be a great challenge to show, like, hey, not only can we beat up some weaker lines on the in the conference, but we can go toe to toe. We can go toe to toe with any line in the country. And what am I trying to say? I don't know, just beat the shit out of everybody. Like, that's what I like. That's what I would love to do, man. And this is a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'm just excited. I want football. We've had the week off. I think that the hard part is going off of a huge win like that and then getting a bye week. You kind of lose some of the steam, I think, that us as fans were super excited about, and you kind of just forget about what that felt like for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just chomping at the bit with this game. I'm a lot more confident going into this game than I was going into UCF for a lot of different reasons. I think that Kansas State is a very similar team to UCF in many ways. I think the biggest difference, obviously, is yes, they're both running teams. UCF is more of a physical style. K-State is more of a speed style. So we are going to get that little bit of difference, and hopefully we can make the right adjustments. And with 2 weeks, I hope that we're prepared, for that style, the wheel routes and the screen passes and the different things like that to get their guys into space and use that speed. And then also, are we able to keep Avery Johnson in the pocket? If we do that, like, this game is going to get out of hand quickly. Especially because I've watched all the K-State games so far this year. I know they're 4-1, but it is such I would say a fake 4-1, if I want to say it, because they should have lost to Tulane. 100% should have lost that game to Tulane. Their first game of the season, Tennessee Martin, okay, you should win that 41-6. That did nothing for you for the season. And then Arizona, that game was close until it got out of hand right at the end. And we know what Arizona is now, right? We've seen them through all these games. They are not the Arizona that everybody crowned as one of the contenders in the Big 12. And then, of course, the BYU loss, which on the road, showing that so far this year, Kansas State does not look good on the road after the barely beating Tulane, getting completely decimated by BYU at altitude. And then, even last week, yes, they came away 42-20 with against Oklahoma State, or 2 weeks ago, whatever. The point is that I watched that game and I was not impressed. Like, Oklahoma State just played that game so poorly and gave it away by not continuing with their game plan for whatever reason. and Kansas State just kept doing what they do, and they, pulled away because that's just what happens. So I think I think K-State gets a lot more credit from a lot of people than they should. I will say, Dave, I watched your most recent Behind Enemy Lines with that podcast that everybody picked Colorado to win. They're probably the most realistic K-State fans I've seen all week.
Man, the Cocaine Ralph, you guys are a lot of fun. Y'all be sure to go follow them. They're really good fans. We probably chatted for another 45 minutes after we wrapped up that show. Just a lot of fun. I'll forgive them for being Chiefs fans, but yeah, like they love their team. But yeah, it was cool to and nice to hear that. Like, yeah, they've watched quite a bit of Colorado, so that was kind of cool to see. And similar to kind of where we were at a couple weeks ago, like our team needs to show that they can play well on the road in these tough environments, more so with the offense. And Tim Fitzgerald was talking about that on my show on Monday too, just how this is a young offense and they haven't played well on the road. So this is, again, I understand, like, until they show it, I would be doing the same thing. That's what I was doing 2 weeks ago. So I understand that. I hope things don't click for them this weekend. I don't think they will. I'm expecting the Buffs to go out there and stack another really solid performance this week. But I think it's like fine. Like, I understand, man. Like this, I'm glad the line has kind of gone down a little bit. I think it's at like -3.5 or something like that. Like I think that's fair. But yeah, this is, if you're just looking at it like a number 18 team against an unranked team, don't do that. I think that this is going to be a brawl. I think it's going to be very physical on both sides. I'm expecting momentum swings throughout the entire game, but I do expect CU to pull away in crunch time. Yeah, but like you said, they provide some different style, a different style than KJ Jefferson and the UCF Knights. Of course, they got two really good running backs, DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards. But I know a lot of people have been kind of shitting on Avery Johnson a little bit. I know there's been a little, talk about like he's not as good as KJ Jefferson or whatever. But I know he still has kind of those up and down moments. He's been kind of inconsistent throughout the season, but when he's on, man, he's a dynamic player, and I'm sure he'll become a better passer as time goes on. But you had the key to the game right there, Russ, is keeping him within the pocket. I think that's going to be crucial because when he gets outside the pocket, I think that's when he's at his best.
Well, and I'm okay if he gets out of the pocket, but we have to have somebody on him so he can't run. Because when he throws on the run or out of the pocket, that is when he makes his biggest mistakes. So, and in all honesty, that's how we win this game. If we get him to throw the ball out of his hands, get the ball out of Avery Johnson's hands, this defense is going to feast. Our defensive backs are going to feast. There are going to be, again, if we can get him to do it, get rid of the ball, we are going to have a chance at a lot of turnovers for K-State. A lot of turnovers. My thing with Avery Johnson is he is, like you said, he's very dynamic, very athletic, has some good speed. He is a slot receiver playing quarterback.
You're about to make us go viral right now. Right?
Well, I'm not the only one that said that this week, so feel free to take it viral because I've been saying this for weeks now with it, is he is a slot receiver at quarterback. He, like you said, he needs to improve his passing game, and I think over the years he will. I do. I think that in the future he is going to be a menace, and he is going to help K-State be one of the better teams in the Big 12. But with this being his first full-time season, you can tell that the passing is just not where it needs to be. He needs to put a ton of work in this offseason, which I have no doubt he will. But As far as this matchup goes, I love it. I love our matchup with it, as long as we can do what we need to do, which we proved we kind of could against UCF. Okay, we didn't let any, massive things happen. And if I'm being honest, Dave, we go back and look at that UCF game, even the plays where KJ Jefferson got out, the only reason he was successful was because he used his power to gain those extra yards. Like we were in a position to make a play where even if he had the speed, he wasn't beating us. We were where we needed to be. We were disciplined. We did the right things. Obviously, the wheel route that we give up for the massive touchdown, that could be a problem if we do that again, this Saturday. But I mean, overall, I like this matchup better. I saw the comment with K-State is a much better version of North Dakota State. I would say not much better. I would say they are better. I mean, they are a Power 5 football team compared to North Dakota State. But I think that they are very similar in style. I think they're very similar in what we're going to face, with just a little bit more skill at every position than North Dakota State had. And so I think we'll be just fine with that. What are your thoughts on like what we should be doing in this game to be successful?
Well, I think the K-State offense, man, they're gonna make plays. I think that obviously this is gonna be a game when both teams are scoring. No, it's just trying to limit some of those big plays. I was talking with Cocaine Willie guys yesterday, and they were throwing out some really interesting stats about how like Colorado will give up a lot of these big plays in between the 20s. But of course, when things get into the red zone, that's when we've been at our best. I do wonder if the plan with Avery Johnson is going to be a little bit different than what we saw with KJ Jefferson. I know that we were able to definitely hold him back compared to what he's been like prior to facing us. But I'm lying to you, Russ, if I'm saying that I'm not more worried about Avery Johnson as an athlete compared to KJ Jefferson. I think that, I wonder, okay, we had guys that could catch up to KJ Jefferson that could be put on him. Are we going to be running a lot of these man schemes where we don't account for Avery Johnson? Are we okay living with that in order to make sure the other guys are covered up and that we're getting pressure? I think that Kansas State has a better offensive line in terms of probably running and passing, I guess, even though UCF has had a pretty dynamic offense. So I think the biggest thing is trying to contain him, minimizing the rushes that he does with his legs, because he's a guy that just needs a little bit of space and he can get past you. More so in the mold of that North Dakota State quarterback we faced, probably just a faster version of him. But I think that this is going to be a case in which our linebackers and our defensive ends are going to have to be really, really disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news is that I feel like we've seen them get better and better.
Yes.
With that throughout this 3-game win streak.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. I mean, they've gotten so much better. And obviously, Dave, if we think about it too, go back to the North Dakota State game. Who are our linebackers for that game?
Yeah, that's true.
We had Trevor Woods in. And no offense to Trevor Woods, who's now moved on, but he is not the speed and athlete that Nikhai Hill-Green is. And Nikhai Hill-Green, since taking over that starting spot week 2, has been absolutely balling. The number 2 rated linebacker by PFF in the country.
Wow.
That is going to be a huge matchup. And I think, when people are comparing K-State to North Dakota State, I think if Nikhai Hill-Green plays that whole game, I think, we might have been a little bit more dominant in that game, because there were a couple plays that, Trevor Woods just missed or wasn't able to keep up with somebody. And so I do think that would be a big difference with that game. And so, again, like you said, we're improving each and every week. We're finding people's positions. We're finding out who are the actual, game day ballers, so to speak, versus, just what they do at practice or what they do here. And Nikhai Hill-Green has been the absolute truth when it comes to our defense. And so that's again why I'm pretty confident in this game. I think he's going to be a big aspect of this game. If he has a game this weekend, we're definitely pulling out the W just because of that. So I think that's a massive difference. And something the ball out said, which is Cam Miller's a better quarterback than Avery Johnson. I think Cam Miller's a better passer than Avery Johnson from what I've seen. But again, you know why I believe that? Because Cam Miller's in his 5th year and Avery Johnson is in his 1st year starting. I mean, Cam Miller started for 5 years. He has improved drastically every year. So, you know, I said this to somebody else and they laughed at me for even comparing him. And I'm like, no, Avery Johnson is eventually going to become this great player. But again, he is in his 1st year. He's rough. He's raw. You know, he's just surviving on athletic talent. And I think that's why, you know, he's had the moments he has. But the BYU game was really what showed me, okay, this is what happens when you stick to a game plan against Kansas State and you're able to do exactly like what we need to do. Because no offense to them, even if Kansas State game planned for a similar situation to go back to BYU, I think the same thing happens just because they don't have the personnel to be able to combat that type of defense. It's the whole thing that we've talked about, you know, live, breathe, or die with these running quarterbacks throwing the ball. And you need to have a great game throwing the ball to beat us. Cam Miller had a great game throwing the ball, and they almost beat us. So that's where it needs to be. And I think we can absolutely play that. I don't have any, like, I truly, I want to come back to this video next week. And especially I will be shocked if Avery Johnson has like this unbelievable, like 300-yard, 3-touchdown performance that I think he would have to have in order to keep up with Colorado and beat us. Like, I think that's what has to happen. If Avery Johnson gets 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns passing the ball, then yes, I have a feeling that the weekend is not going to go well for Colorado, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think you point out BYU. That's a great example of what happens if Kansas State's in a serious deficit that they got to come back from. They're right now they're not built to do that, and so it's going to be really important for. I mean, I would imagine Kansas State's going to come in here and really try and muddy up this game, right? And you know, like simple stuff, of course, like ball control, time of possession, of course, trying to limit the drives on offense too, and they want to make this a dogfight, right? And if Colorado's offense can get off to a hot start and find ourselves in a nice lead there in the first half, I think that really benefits us. I sound like a broken record every week. We talk about this, Russ, because we faced a lot of rushing teams so far. But I'm okay, man. If a quarterback's gonna somehow like play out of his mind, make some amazing throws, and somehow like that's how we lose, I can live with that. What I can't live with is just getting destroyed on the ground for like 250 yards rushing. And that's what a lot of these teams want to come in here and do. And what's great is that we've held up to that test every week outside of Nebraska. And that I think that really does give me a lot of confidence as well that we can get Kansas State out of their game plan that they want to do. Again, this team is not built to come from behind, and especially on the road, that can be a very difficult thing. You know how rowdy Boulder's going to be on Saturday. It's going to be it's going to be a party. So it's going to be up to Kansas State to kind of weather that storm at first, see if they can fire in some punches there to kind of quiet the crowd. But CU's crowd isn't going to be going away, and like we saw. What was that big game-changing play? Well, I guess we had a handful, but definitely that Preston Hodge interception at the beginning of the game. Like, we've had a lot of these moments that we've been able to follow up their big plays with ours. So that's what I'm expecting coming into this game, man.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, we can't have the same start to UCF that we did against or to Kansas State that we did against UCF. Having that terrible drive and then Shador throwing the interception. Like, I don't think if that were to happen again, heaven forbid, K-State is not going to air out the ball at that point. They are not going to air out the ball and put the ball in Avery Johnson's hands. I still don't know why UCF in the red zone decides to throw the ball. You have a power running scheme, run it down our throats, end up with a field goal. I don't care, but that should have been your game plan. That interception in the corner, game over. That was it. They had their chance to do exactly what they needed to, which was get ahead and then try and grind out a win. That's what a team needs to do when they come in here. And so as long as we don't start that same way, like, a great comment again, if CU comes out to a 14-0 lead, the game is over with. Yeah. I wholly agree with that. And I think that's what the focus needs to be. The offense needs to execute early. Okay, we know the defense is going to execute early because they'll be fresh, they'll be ready to go. But if K-State is having to come back in the second half, in altitude, in Folsom, against our team, there's no chance that they have at being victorious in this game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I want to follow up on a couple of these thoughts, Russ, but I do want to get to this super chat first from Chairman A. Again, thank you so much for the $10. Really does mean a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He said, I'm not really worried about the running back of K-State because of all the games we've played. The QB had more rushing yards. That's very true than the running back. And when it comes to this QB, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. We need a QB spy. Or it's over. My question to you, Russ, is, if we do have somebody that's accounting for Avery Johnson on the field, who do you think is best suited to be doing that?
I mean, if I'm being honest, Jalen Wester would be a great option for that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they may do something with Shiloh a little bit from the back end. He's good at that open field tackle. I mean, if we're being honest, a lot of people don't give him enough credit, but I think we won that NDSU game because of Shiloh Sanders. He had a couple open field tackles on Cam Miller that if he doesn't tackle him, he's going for a touchdown, and that game's completely different. And it was maybe 2 or 3 plays, but those 2 or 3 plays would have been 2 or 3 touchdowns. And so getting Shiloh Sanders back this week is huge because I don't really think we need the over-the-top help on receivers for K-State. I don't think that they're going to throw the ball down the field that often. And when they do, I'm fine with man-to-man and just going straight up and saying, hey, beat us, beat our corners. That's fine. So I think maybe getting the safeties involved, Cameron Silman Craig has been playing so well. Nikai Hill Green, Jalen Wester is made to spy. I mean, he is probably our most athletic, speedy linebacker. Nikai Hill Green's all together. Levante Bentley, he is that just smart, strong linebacker. And so I think between them, that's where we're at. So I think that's what I would like to see, something with that. And I definitely think Shiloh is going to be a big game changer this week. I'm glad we got him back for this game.
Yeah. I'm super pumped we got Shiloh back. That gives Robert Livingston all the options available out in that secondary. And I think you brought up a great point, Russ. I think there's possibilities where we could see Cameron Silman Craig matched up with him. And I mean, Cam Silman Craig, he's been awesome. He's been awesome in run support, man. So we got a handful of guys, including Jalen Wester, that I think I think can keep up with him. Again, we'll just see how often we're accounting for Avery Johnson on defense. I don't know. We play a lot of cover, cover one man. And I think that CU, my guess is they just see, let's shut down these running backs and we can live with Avery Johnson making some plays. Again, if we can just handle DJ Giddens and Dylan Edwards and the game is put on a young quarterback like that, I can live with that. I think that's an okay game plan. I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have that.
I think that's exactly what we should be looking for.
Russ, you got $10 coming to you from the land of the corn. Credit to Mike. He said, go Bucks and good luck.
We're converting him, Dave. We're slowly converting Mike, slowly but surely.
I know, sure. Soon enough, he's gonna be opening up a Buffs YouTube channel all the way from the great state of Nebraska. Yeah, thanks so much, Mike. Really appreciate you being in here all the time. Now, Russ, I got a question to you, man. So we've talked about how it's like so important. Let's see this offense get off to a hot start. That would be great. You want to get KSU in a deficit. So I don't know. If you win the coin toss, what are you doing?
Oh man, that is rough, but I think you still defer because if you stop Kansas State, then you have a chance to end that game right there.
Yeah.
Like it could go either way. I mean, I guess it depends on how the team feels, but I love going for that twofer after half, and especially because you get to make adjustments at half. You now know what Kansas State's game plan actually is versus taking the ball at the beginning of the game. You're guessing what it's going to be based on their past history.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't always right. And that can cause problems, which I think has been our issue. Look at the games that we've struggled out of the get-go. It's because we got the ball first. The Nebraska game, the UCF game, we get the ball first. Not so great. So I really would prefer to still defer. I think that's really the option. Get the defense out there when they're fresh. Let them surprise Kansas State's offense with the looks that they're going to give them. And then, let's play the half knowing that we're going to get the ball second half with a good game plan for that drive, which I have no doubt. I haven't even looked. How many times have we deferred and gotten the ball in the second half?
I don't know.
NDSU, did we?
Dude, I can't remember. What really got me thinking about this was with the Broncos against the Buccaneers. Broncos are 0-2 at that point. Bo Nix hadn't done much. And they won the coin toss, and they actually took the ball first on the road. And I was like really surprised at that. But he's like, I just wanted to get into the offense and get them in a rhythm early, and they scored a touchdown on that first drive. And so definitely this offense is capable of doing that, and it's something that I'm sure they're considering. But I feel very similarly to you, Russ. I think that right now, I feel like our team's identity comes from this defense, and you saw kind of how he had those little jitters against Nebraska to start the game. Jimmy almost fumbling the kickoff, and of course, Shador with that interception. Let's put Kansas State, against the wall to start the game and see how they perform in a rowdy environment on that first drive. I think that I really love the idea of forcing some sort of mistake early on when that noise is going to be top notch. So that's how I like it. And Russ, I wanted to point this out because I can't remember if we talked about it. When getting the ball at the beginning of the second half against UCF, that was great. And we saw Coach Prime. I think he had his best kind of end of first half game management there than like what we've seen during his time at CU so far, where he was okay taking the points. There at the end of the second quarter, we got that field goal, I believe. Then we forced the, or maybe it was a punt. I can't remember. No, it was a field goal, and then we forced them to punt, and then we got a second field goal. Based on our defense getting that 3 and out, and Coach Prime making sure he was calling timeouts on time. He was telling the offense to just get a little bit more downfield so we could kick that extra field goal. And it was an added 6 points on before the end of the half. I thought that UCF just thought that they were going to go down into the halftime once they had the ball, but that wasn't the case, man. It was great to see Coach Prime really own the last 2 minutes of that first half.
Well, and we saw the videos afterwards. Like that was 100% Coach Prime, and we now have proof of that.
Yeah.
Him, Shermer, Hunter, and Sanders, Shador, all saying, "Hey, let's heave one up to Travis and see what happens." And Coach Prime's like, "Heck no, you're gonna go out. You're gonna get a couple of yards. We're gonna kick the field goal." Like, no, like I'm putting my foot down here, and that was absolute perfect coaching, a 6-point swing in the last minute of the game,
Yeah.
like without scoring a touchdown is absolutely insane. That was a masterclass of Coach Prime's development as a coach, as a play caller, as a game manager,
Yep.
understanding the ins and outs of clock management. That shows me that, again, Coach Prime is improving. And to all those haters out there that say Coach Prime's not a real coach, like that was probably the biggest thing that he's done. And in all honesty, that put away the game. The game was over right then. Like, done, out of reach. UCF was never coming back after that 6-point swing before the half.
Yeah.
And, we could actually give that to Coach Prime.
Yeah, it killed any little momentum that could have been there remaining, and hope. And I just, again, like, I loved how he handled that, and so it would be great to be in a situation at home this time where we could do something very similarly, go and get points at the end of the first half, and then we're already getting the ball to start the second half, and then we can be off to the races. That's what would be really nice. I do have another super chat here that we'll get to here, Russ. Thanks so much, Dylan Hall, for the cup of coffee, the $4.99. He said this crowd is going to be loud, and they'll make it tough for their offense. Our offensive line has to stay consistent and limit mistakes. Thank you so much, Dylan. Really, really do appreciate it. Russ, do you want to talk about the offensive line? I kind of like that Dylan's brought it up.
Well, watching K-State a little bit, I think this is a great game for us to maybe see some consistency from that O-line. It sounds like we're getting the same O-line from last week. That's
Really?
the look that we saw. The depth chart came out, I think, was it today or yesterday afternoon? Showed, similar depth chart with starters on it. Kareem Harden, Houston on the right, like it showed the same. Now, whether that happens, let's be honest, the depth chart has been completely bogus every week. There has been some kind of change or difference to what they put, so I don't trust it.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested to see if we do get that continuance from last game and what they're able to do with it.
Yeah.
And then I'm very interested to see what K-State does up front. I don't know what to expect because there's so many variables with what they've done so far this year. I know that you talked about it with the panel you were with about, Nebraska's reason they beat us was they blitzed, they put pressure on Shedeur, gave him no time whatsoever. We didn't adjust. We didn't have short routes. And so nothing developed and he was just harassed the whole game.
Yeah.
The good news that you brought up was I think they made good adjustments in the following games, including UCF, to where, when they did blitz, there were more options on routes available to Shedeur, and he was over 90% completion for when he's blitzed. And that tells me it's like, what are you going to do? Pick your poison because you got to risk it. I truly think that the way to beat Colorado is what Nebraska's game plan was last year that they just didn't succeed on. I think you need to rush 4 and drop back a lot. And you need to hope that you can win the one-on-one battles on the line and get enough pressure on Shedeur to cause him to not have what he needs to hopefully be able to cover the guys long enough to get that pressure. But if the offensive line can give Shedeur 2 to 3 seconds consistently, that is where Shedeur Sanders is going to eat the most.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, if I'm trying to put myself in like KSU's position, I think that you want to keep this offensive line guessing with every snap on kind of where those 4th and or 5th rushers are coming from. Mix it up consistently, have a lot of stunts and twists involved to where you're forcing the offensive line to communicate, hand off, understand where the leverage is, or make the running back make a decision on who they're going to pick up. Like all of that, I think that if Kansas State does that, it's going to be a tough day on our offensive line. I can't remember how much UCF now kind of did those things. Of course, I know the blitz numbers, but I can't really remember seeing too many twists and stunts and all of that.
No, so
Yeah,
and I watched some of the BYU game again. I mean, they run that 3 front with
yeah,
more linebackers. They bring the linebackers on blitz. What I like about that though, Dave, is that does give you automatically built-in extra time. So long as they're not obviously on the line, but if they're in the
yeah,
normal lineback position, which I assume they will be because you don't want to give away the fact that you're blitzing to Shador because he's going to eat you up. So disguising your defense is going to be very important and key. But I love the fact that they do that. That's going to automatically build in some extra time for Shador, even if they do a stunt, even if they send a linebacker around. That's going to create at least 2 to 3 seconds. And so I think that's going to be key for Shador. Early on, Kansas State got some pressure on BYU's quarterback and got some sacks. But BYU's quarterback is not Shador Sanders. And so I don't think it's going to be the same thing around, with what's going on. So yeah, I'm very interested to see what have you seen in the little bit of time that you've looked at K-State and their defense as far as what we might expect.
yeah, man. Well, I think they can fly around. They can rush the passer. I think that they're a pretty good defense, but they also can be vulnerable. I do see a lot of opportunity for us to take advantage of the matchup between our wide receivers and secondary. I think that's our strength. And I think that's what this game's really going to come down to is again, can we give Shador enough time to hit those guys downfield? Like that's really it. And can the run game play a complement to assisting that? And what I've loved during this 3-game win streak is that we have had a commitment to running the ball good enough. And that's all we need, man. Good enough, to keep the defense on their heels a little bit. I imagine that they're going to come out Kansas State and still dare us to run. Like I would imagine they're going to be seeing some light and favorable boxes and put CU and Shador and Pat Shermer in a situation to where it's like, okay, like are you going to be ultra aggressive or are you going to take the play in front of you? Are you going to be ultra aggressive or are you going to go and take the 3 points at the end of the half? Those kinds of situations. And it was great to see Tyler Brown have a great rebound game against UCF. It was great to see Kareem Harden and Philip Houston also play really well. I think that this defensive front that they're going to be facing from Kansas State's a better one than UCF. So I think it's another great challenge. But I think the best way you can help this offensive line and you can help keep Shador upright is still coming out and running the ball effectively, especially when they're giving you those light boxes. Make them pay for that. Make them pay.
What's really interesting on BYU's first offensive touchdown of the game, because mind you, they were already up 10-6
Yeah.
on a fumble recovery on defense. Kansas State rushed 3 and dropped everyone, and BYU's quarterback threw a 40-yard pass into the end zone for a touchdown.
Wow.
With them having dropped everyone. Okay, Dave, I'm telling you, like, they cannot do that. They cannot do the whole light box, like drop everybody. That'll be how we beat Shador. No, that is not how you beat Shador, Sanders. They need to blitz, and they need to blitz a lot, and hope to God that he isn't able to pull something out. Like, that's the only way they even have a chance. And so I don't know, Dave. I just don't think that I think this is going to be, as we talked about at the very beginning of the show, I think this is where our offense finally comes out and has a fully dominant performance. And that is obviously what's going to change the tide of now Kansas State's having to pass it. This is where the blowout could come. I do feel like that this game has a very high chance of a blowout happening just because of their play style. See, I kind of wondered that, Dylan, I kind of wondered that. See, the way I thought I saw it this year was Nebraska won because they were putting pressure on Shador with very little, people going after him versus, what they did last
Do you
year.
count rushing 4 as a blitz? Or
No,
okay.
that's base. That's base. I'd say 5, 6 definitely, obviously, is a blitz, but I'd say 4 is a normal front. I mean, you've got 5. I consider a blitz is when you have more guys going after the quarterback than you do blocking.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not the true definition and there's nothing like that, but to me, if you have 5 linemen blocking and they only send 4, that should never, like, you shouldn't be able to get to the quarterback unless, again, you're just a really good pass rusher, and the offensive line just isn't as good as they should be. But
no doubt, man. No doubt. Well, Russ, I don't know, man. Do we want to get to like some of our maybe keys to the game? And I know that I guess we've been talking about that this whole time, or kind of players that you're watching out for in this matchup.
Yep. Yeah, my players of the game, we kind of already mentioned it. Defense, if we're gonna be successful, I think Nikhai Hill-Green is gonna have the play of the game. Like, he's gonna be the guy that gets it done on the defense. Offensively, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a surprise, especially with what we've been talking about. My player of the game is going to be Dallin Hayden. I think
okay.
I think he's close to 100%. We saw what he flashed against UCF with a recovering from a high ankle sprain. I think that this is his chance to break out. I've heard good things about how he's practicing this week. I've heard Coach Prime say a number of times that Dallin Hayden has had the best week of practice that he's seen. And I think that Dallin Hayden is going to have a breakout performance, and that's what's going to be the real game changer. Because like you said, I think he's going to be able to get some big runs early, and it's going to change the tide to where then we're going to be able to pass all over K-State and really take the lead. But once we do, I think that you're going to see Dallin Hayden get a lot of rushing yards going forward. And while it still will be a blowout, I don't think we're going to see us maybe put 50 or 60 or 40 points up on K-State type of blowout. I think it's just going to be a pure domination when it comes to both sides of the ball, and especially running the ball, because I also think that the offensive line definitely has bookmarked a lot of the K-State comments this week from all of their podcasters outside of the people you talk to, because, I watched Tom Fitzgerald's podcast. Tim. He is the one, well, not him, but the guy he had on there was the one that said, we have an extreme advantage on the offense and defensive lines. And I just laughed at that. And guess what? I already know there was at least 2 CU players that commented on those clips.
Oh, funny.
Chidoze was not happy with that one, especially being in the trenches. So, hey, K-State fans, keep bringing the bulletin board material because our guys are watching. They are watching.
I love it, man. Man, that's so funny. A guy that I'll be keeping my eyes on. I wish I did a film room. I had time to do that, but I stuck with a lot of the stuff on defense over the last couple of weeks. But a guy that I thought played a pretty underrated role in the success of the offense last week was Savell Smalls. Like, I thought he was really helpful in both run blocking as well as pass protection. And, you got to play him honest because, we will send him downfield every now and then. And I think he did have a catch and a first down last game as well. And I think that part of the success that this offense has had over the last few weeks is due to, I think, going more 11 personnel. And I would imagine that's going to continue. And I think if Savell Smalls has a good game, I think that means we're running the ball good and we're pass protecting good too. So he's going to be one of my players' X factors. Maybe not, his performance isn't really anything you can measure on the stat sheet, but I think that his play is going to be a thing to watch for that could help dictate where the game's going. In terms of defense, Man, there's so many guys that I want to pick, but I think I'll stick with the edge players for now. I don't know if we're gonna see Dan Hayes this week. I know that's kind of a little bit up in the air, and I was really impressed with how everybody played in the rotation with him being out. So I'm gonna kind of break our rules a little bit. I'll say, Russ, I need another really good game from Samuel Okunlowa and Arden Walker, kind of helping spell for Dayon Hayes. I thought that they were just fantastic,
Yep.
and I want to see him get after it again this week.
Yeah, I think you'll see some more sacks. I don't think it's going to be a 0 sack game again for the defense that they had at the beginning of the season, mind you. Obviously UCF, they finally started getting to the quarterback and it looked beautiful. So I agree. Definitely going to see that again this week. I definitely love some of the comments about who's going to do what. The only thing, Mike, I can't believe these two are worried. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I've been talking this game up. Dave, are you worried about this game?
Um, like worried? No. Like I mean, of course, it's like, dude, you saw Vanderbilt beat Alabama last week.
Yes,
Truly,
any
or
given
like
Saturday. I
anything
mean,
can happen. But I was a lot more nervous going to UCF than how I feel staying home. So, but I do feel like, and maybe this is where we might differ a little bit, Russ. Is I think that they're a solid football team. I think that they're number 18 for a reason right now. Like I do find them to be a very quality opponent. Um, I think that yeah, there's some different things you can say. Well, they were close to doing that, close to doing that. Well, we almost lost to Baylor. Well, we almost lost to NDSU. Like I understand at the end of the day, they're the 18th ranked 4-1 team. They play with really good identity on both sides of the ball, but they're young, and that's where I feel like being at home is really going to assist us.
no, for sure. I think that's probably why I'm so confident this week. I think if we played UCF at home, I probably would have picked Colorado over UCF. I was just giving them the on the road, having to go away for so long. Especially in your own backyard, you have a lot of family watching the game, lots of tickets that you're having to get. It was the perfect storm for me, and seeing the team do what they did in that type of environment and that type of scenario, and now getting 2 weeks to prepare for a home game. That's where I'm like, coming off that game, 2 weeks to prepare, confidence sky high. Guys are starting to click. We're starting to figure out who plays where. This is the game that is going to show what this team really, really is.
Yeah,
And they have a chance to make a statement this week, because if they do win by, let's say, 14, 20 points, the whole country will be on notice.
yeah.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and call it now, Dave. And you tell me if you agree. Although I kind of agree with the sentiment, but I know it's coming when it comes to the goalposts. If Colorado does win this weekend, I think we're gonna hear, of course, people now really trashing the Big 12 as a conference and saying that it is absolutely a horrendous conference and Colorado is only doing what they're doing because they're in such a terrible, terrible conference.
Oh, whatever,
But
man.
we
Yeah.
know that's going to come if the victory happens this weekend.
Well, I mean, you're already seeing it, man, with guys like Bud Elliott, man, is still trying to cope with Florida State just looking like absolute booty in a bad ACC. So, yeah, like I understand that's how it's going to come. Big 12, they need to change their name, or else they're going to just be continued to be memed. But something else, Russ, that I've totally forgotten to talk about is I do feel like, though it was great seeing, I think, our special teams bounce back against UCF. This is an area where K-State, similar to Baylor, could take advantage of us with the athletes that they have back there. We should see Dylan Edwards returning punts. We'll see if Stojanovic, I'm praying to God that he can get that thing through the end zone at altitude. We'll have a look this week, but I want to kick it out of the end zone every single time. I want to limit returns. and limit the amount of times we're putting our coverage at risk. I wouldn't even mind it, man, if Mark Bass is kicking it out of bounds here at certain points, man. I just don't even want to give these guys the opportunity to have a momentum swing with a big return in any fashion. But it was great seeing Jimmy Horn bust out a nice return last week against UCF, and hopefully, special teams. I think that they were a slight net positive for us last game. Hopefully they can be a slight positive for us in this game as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the special teams, because if Dylan Edwards gets the ball on a special teams play, I have a bad feeling that we're going to see a touchdown from him at some point on Saturday if he gets the ball and has a chance to return it at all. And that could change the game, because I could see it definitely. I mean, I don't know if it's just me and my trauma that I have with the other sports teams I follow, because I always feel like there's a curse against like ex players coming back and having unbelievable plays against my teams. And so I foresee it. I foresee it.
Yeah.
If we had all kicked the ball to Dylan Edwards, he is going to have a special teams touchdown that could completely flip the game and what's going on. So I'm worried about that too. Vassett, please just kick the ball out of bounds. I don't care. I don't care if it's a 20-yard kick. I don't care if it's a 30-yard kick, but just kick it out of bounds, please, for the love of God.
Yeah. I guess we'll get to our predictions here in just a minute. So Lil Bucket can figure out if I'm picking against our Buffs this week or not. We'll just have to see. Chairman A, thank you again for the cup of coffee. Thank you so much. He said, "What are the chances K-State will come out trying to throw the ball like NDSU did? That unexpected type of shit." Any thoughts on this, Russ? Otherwise, I got an answer.
My only thing is I pray to God they do. I pray to God they do. I'm sorry. Again, Cam Miller is a better passing quarterback right now than Avery Johnson is. By the way, Dave, do you know how well Cam Miller is having of a season? Do you want to hear real quick?
No, tell me, man.
He has 1,300 yards, 11 touchdown passing, no interceptions.
Wow.
The
Man,
dude
what's
is
the
putting
record?
together a season. Not to mention he has 6 touchdowns rushing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
just throwing that out there, I'm pretty sure Cam Miller at this point is a better all-around quarterback than Avery Johnson. So please, for the love of God, K-State, think that you're going to come out and throw the ball around. What are your thoughts on this? You similar?
I just don't think, and Chris Kleiman doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to open up this game.
Nope. That's
away, like moving outside of kind of who they are in terms of an offense, their identity, all of that. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think that they'll lean on this running game, and I think you pointed it out with Cam Miller. I think that, yeah, him being a fifth-year quarterback, like, you've been in some different environments, he was ready to come out and do that. Of course, it's like hindsight's always 2020, right? But looking back, like, that does make sense. Like, you can trust your veteran quarterback to not turn the ball over and make some good plays for you. Be smart and hit those advantageous matchups. But I just don't see it in K-State's favor. Sort of like, again, I didn't feel like it made a lot of sense for Nebraska to come out and just start airing it out against this defense, and then they didn't do that. Like, they ran the ball. They didn't put Raiola in any situations that were bigger than what he needed to be. And coming out throwing the ball is not how you serve a young developing passer at the college quarterback position well at all. I don't think we'll see that. But again, I'm just a dude on YouTube, man. They very well could surprise me.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. We've had one game where a team decided we're going to go blow for blow offensively with Colorado, and that was TCU last year.
Yeah.
Like, that game was just we're just going to air out the ball the whole game, go back and forth, score 40 plus points each. We haven't had a game like that because the teams realized that is playing to Shedeur Sanders' strengths. And there are not many quarterbacks that are going to win that battle where they can be perfect, just airing the ball out the whole game and not giving your defense a chance to, have some rest to be able to play, hard-nosed trench football. So I don't think we're ever going to see that again because we don't play a quarterback like that, pretty much the rest of the season unless for some reason we get to the playoffs. But right now, the good news for Colorado is we don't have a passing quarterback really left on the schedule unless you include Cam Rising. And even then, he's not like an air it out type of guy. So, that's what the schedule is going to look like. This defense needs to be prepared for that. And they're only going to get better every week because they're playing it every week.
Yeah. Playing a lot of these guys similarly every single week. Russ, do you want to get to like our predictions for the game? I'll let you start, man. Or should I go first?
You go first this year.
Yeah,
this time.
I feel like you should. You should put this thing away. I'm gonna throw the alley-oop. But my prediction now, I did think. Shout out to Lil Bucket. I did think about picking against us just to try and keep this thing going, right? Like if I pick against the Buffs and they win every weekend, that's a win for me. That's what I want. But then I thought about it a little bit further and I'm like, well, I picked them to beat CSU and I picked them to beat Baylor and they did that. So we're getting rid of any superstitions. I'm still changing my underwear every day, but I'm still going to be wearing my Carter Stoutmire jersey like I have every game during this winning streak. So I got us winning 34-24. I think we'll pull away in the second half.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, I mean, like I said a little bit earlier, with the way that we won at UCF, with what this team was able to put together, now they have that confidence. They know what they can do. Being at home, having 2 weeks to prepare, the team focused in, locked in, ready to show the world. They know what this game means. They know what's being said around the country when it comes to the team constantly. Like, if people want to see CU's fail, they need to stop talking about CU. Because the more they talk about CU and say this is what they are when they're not, the more that gives the guys fuel to be like, I'm not going to let somebody define who I am. I am going to go out and be who I know I am. And that's going to happen this week in Boulder. And I think that we are going to take it to Kansas State. I think that we're going to get going early. And I think that's going to cause K-State to have to change their game plan. And like I said, put the ball in Avery Johnson's hands. And that 100% benefits Colorado. And Colorado's DBs are going to feast. I'm calling it now. 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers in the game this weekend. 4 turnovers. Okay, let's come back and see if I'm right on that. And I think that the final score of the game is, Dave, I agree with you on what CU is going to do. My difference is what K-State's going to do. I'm saying Colorado 34, K-State 17. Okay. We get the big dub, what would be considered a blowout in Boulder in front of a just recently sold out crowd that was announced a couple hours ago. And I think we moved to 5-1 on the season, and we enter the top 25 going into next week's game.
I love it, man. I love it. And I think, if we take care of business this Saturday, you got to think the streak of still playing on main network television is going to continue as well, which is going to be awesome. Of course, we got that against Arizona. Man, this is just a lot of fun. This is a rekindling of an old rivalry. Yes. I think that this is going to be a great start to that. And then we move on to Arizona, which that one I'm very much looking forward to as well. I think that Kansas State, as well as Arizona, might become our biggest rivals in the Big 12 moving forward. We'll have to see how the rest of the season goes, but I like the fact that we got both of these teams back to back. I think it's going to be really interesting, and man, I can't wait. Let's continue to see this team get better every week. Let's continue to see them stack victories. And what I like is that they play good NFL style complimentary football, and it's selfless. And I think that guys, just cherish this, man. It's a treat to watch. Anything else, Russ, man? What do you got planned for the rest of this week, and when will we hear from you next?
Yeah, nothing for the rest of the week, but Sunday afternoon we'll recap the game, talk about it, hang out on Sunday afternoon while everybody's watching NFL football. It's been a great Sundays in a row where we've been able to do that. We did hit the 2,000 subscriber mark last week. So we are just over 2,000 subscribers. So I appreciate anybody who's watching, who has subscribed to the channel. We're just going to continue rolling and growing. Excited for what's to come. By the way, this off season is going to be insane. So what? We're good?
Sorry. Yeah, my other tab just started playing. Just trying to grab a link. Sorry.
Didn't hear anything.
Okay.
So yeah, excited to see what happens. This is going to be one of the most amazing off seasons I think we've ever seen. I think a lot of amazing things are starting to happen and unfold, guys. So make sure you're subscribed so I get you guys your news when we get to the off season on those weekly basis, because you're going to want to be locked in on what's happening, because it's going to happen quick, fast, and a lot is going to happen this off season. So make sure you guys are tuned in, and yeah, just continue with these shows every Wednesday night with you, and been having a lot of fun so far this season. It's been great to be able to talk about this team each and every week.
It's been fantastic, man. Russ, can't wait to do a show with you next week as well. You know, I don't really have any like bones to pick with the KSU fan base or just KSU in general, but I got a lot with Arizona, man. So I think next week's going to be a lot of fun. Like that feels personal to me. Like that Arizona matchup, like that truly feels personal. So next week's going to be a fun week. There's going to be a lot of great storylines and matchups. So yeah, y'all be sure to smash the subscribe, the bell notification, so you know when Russ and I are going live and whatever else we're doing throughout the week. And I do have a favor, y'all. I hate spamming this, but I'm trying to get to 100 followers on Facebook. Throw it right in there. I'm at 74 right now. Once I hit 100, I can start live streaming over there, and then I'll shut up about it. But I'm trying to get enough to where I can live stream over there as well. And so if you guys got an extra moment, searching David Talks Buffs on Facebook would be a lot of fun. Or I think if you put this link in there, it should work. So if it doesn't, I apologize. But thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Russ, anything else, or should we shut this thing down?
I think we're good to go. Appreciate everybody for commenting.
Yes.
And make sure you guys are back next week so we can talk about a Buffs victory next Wednesday.
Yes, let's go. All right, you guys take care. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Go Buffs.